everyone, Richard Carlton. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. I wanted to say that today is a beginning on how to share a solution. All right, so today is on FileMaker solutions for beginners and basics. So let's talk about this. I'm going to save this for later as soon as one of you asks that relevant question, which I know is coming. So I'm going to press a little button. I have a little control button here. Here we go. This is the progression learning. We talk about this all the time, because your thought process in life is dictated by where you live on this chart. Most of everyone here lives in this area, either in here or in here. A lot of you live kind of in here, but really you live in this spot where I live, which is where you really don't do hardcore coding all day, every day. Some of you do, and it's totally great that you do. A lot of you are senior developers, like Stu lives over here. Some people live over here in this fully certified ninja level stuff. I tend to not use FileMaker every day to that crazy level. All my staff do, but I don't. And so I live over here, and one of the things I like to do is kind of bring common sense back, reality back to people who either down here don't know any better, or the people up here who learned it once and have since forgotten the common sense. So one of the first things that we all are learning about is having a local FileMaker solution, local, on your Mac or Windows computer, okay? On Mac or Windows. Notice I didn't say anything else, okay? That's because you have to use FileMaker Pro, and FileMaker Pro only runs on Mac or Windows, period, okay? You have a local file like this, Fire Marshal right here. You're gonna open it up. It'll probably ask me for a password I don't actually have. Yeah, there we go. It's gonna ask me for a password. It's gonna be admin 1234. FileMaker is gonna bother me about trying to update to the newest version, which I'm not going to do on live TV. I think that's probably a bad idea. But you have this solution right here. And what happens is someone says, this is the most amazing, beautiful application. It's like a Nick Hunter application. So amazingly beautiful, right? And I want to share it with everyone else. And so how do you share a solution with other people? And the issue becomes one where you're going to need to choose one of several different options for hosting. The term, Claris uses this term hosting, and it's kind of like some sort of weird alien terminology, because I don't know anyone else that really uses the word the way they mean it to be. I mean, Jacob Taylor, so like you've been around FileMaker for a long time, but really the word hosting or host, like give me the host where it's going to go. Like if I say up on the graph right here, on the status toolbar of the FileMaker solution, if it's being shown, I can hide it or show it, a keyboard shortcut. You go under view, you can say status toolbar, okay? Hide or show. If you show it and it's in its default configuration, you can say share. You can upload it to a host, okay? This sounds like we're embedding an alien into the stomach of someone. It's the host of the alien until it comes out of your chest, and then you won't be the host anymore. You'll be dead.
You're posting it up to the spaceship.
I know it's just such weird terminology, and it goes back so far that I think everyone's afraid to call it kind of what it is. But you're gonna upload to a server. A server serves out the files. Okay. The problem is, back in the day when this was first created, there were very few servers around, and most people didn't even know. That was when this came out initially. It was before the internet, right? Literally, I mean that totally seriously. You could use FileMaker, share it peer-to-peer with other people on a local area network, but those local area networks were not connected to internet. I know this. Some of you were like, well, before the internet was just horses and no electricity, right? No, there was this period where there was electricity and cars, but no internet. And we had microwaves, which was really a big deal, okay? And so there's this period in there where you'd have a local area network, but it was only in the building. Or maybe if someone dug a cable under the parking lot to the other building, maybe it was two buildings, okay? And so the idea was that you could host peer-to-peer. So if you hosted it peer-to-peer, you were hosting the file, you were sharing the file out, but your computer wasn't really a server in quotes, okay? Now the rub is that Claris still has the ability, this is share with FileMaker, other FileMaker clients. This is where you become your own little FileMaker server. This is, remember we talked about Satan being inside the custom menus the other day, right? We talked about that yesterday. Well, peer-to-peer sharing may not be Satan, but you're on the road to hell with that solution. Because the reason is that you have to keep so for us to share it peer to peer, we have to go to file, sharing. We're going to share with other FileMaker clients. We're going to say turn on TCP/IP. We're going to share it with all users. I'm going to say okay, and now suddenly I'm sharing it with other people, and other people who have my internet address can log into this. However, there's no provision for encryption. There's no provision for automatic backups here, right? And if one of the clients crashes their FileMaker, there's a really good chance it will crash your file and everyone else who might be connected with it. It's not going to crash the whole computer, but it'll crash FileMaker, the application. And remember what we say, if you crash a FileMaker file, you really never want to reuse a crash FileMaker file. You always go to a backup. So this thing is more crash prone by far than FileMaker Server, and it has no backups. So once again, that's the road to hell we talk about. And the reason I mention it, and I'm such a repetitive fool, I keep repeating myself, is because people think that when I say rules and I talk about this, they think the rules don't apply to them, right? So like Larry, or not Larry's good about this, but Scott Kane or Ed Burkle's definitely, the rules, he's a fire chief and they say don't play with matches. And Ed's pretty sure that those rules don't apply to him. So I'm messing with Ed, but you get the idea that we repeat ourselves because the information might be important. So Claris keeps telling everyone they're going to quit doing the peer-to-peer sharing. They're going to turn that off. It won't even be an option on here to do peer-to-peer. You'll be able to upload to a server. I'm trying to move my head around here so you can see me. You can upload to a server up there, right? Right? This option right here is going to go away. Okay? That kind of makes sense? That option will go away because we don't want to do peer-to-peer. You want it on the FileMaker server. That's kind of what conversation tomorrow is about. Now, someone say, well, I'm just going to use it for 5 minutes. I'm just going to turn this on and share it with Margaret for 5 minutes. Okay, fine. I'm going to share it with Margaret for the afternoon. That's okay. I'm going to share it with Margaret for a day or two. Starting to get a little nervous. And then you're like, well, if I just keep sharing it with Margaret, I never have to buy FileMaker server. Is that such a great idea, right? We need to have the backups, right? Because if I crash this file right now, say for some reason, Margaret's logged in or Jacob's logged in, and suddenly FileMaker force
I
quits.
am logged in actually.
Oh, really? Okay,
I got into the file. Yeah, let's see what happens.
And so I crashed it. He was connected to it. This file has double jeopardy on it. It's a crash with other people messing with it at the same time. So this file should be thrown away into the trash, and you would use a backup. You'd have to get a backup out and use it. That's why I tell people my backups run on my server at least every hour, and I tend to want to run them every 30 minutes, if not every 20 minutes or something like that, right? Yep. So that's really, really important. So once again, peer-to-peer sharing is a hack. If I open it up, it's going to say this file wasn't closed properly, right? And it starts a recovery log over here trying to determine if the file is okay. The problem is that this recovery log is not a legally binding document. It doesn't say, like a court of law, I swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, right? Ever on a Bible, right? It doesn't do that. It says, I've looked at it and we think it's okay, and your mileage may vary. And what should say here, okay? Start consistency check. So it's going to check completed consistency check, okay? Notice it didn't say anything about how great your file was. So it didn't find anything wrong. If Claris thought it was, hey, this is good to go, ready for action, you're locked and loaded, hoorah, it would say something like that. It doesn't. It's very lawyery, right? It did a consistency check. We did some stuff. The summary or its opinion of the quality of the file has been omitted. What do you really, doctor? Do you think this person has cancer or not? I'm going to go out for a smoke. We're not having this conversation. Well, that means either you have cancer or you don't have cancer. It doesn't know whether you have cancer or not, and it's definitely going to step out for a smoke because it doesn't want to be held accountable for what might happen. I'm being serious, absolutely serious here. The rub with this is that you don't use crash files. We store from the backup. So that is this. Now, before we get into like managing sharing on a FileMaker server, Let's talk, Jacob Taylor, about the two options and choices we have for hosting. Oh, there he is. He's logged in again. He's already logged in. Now I can't get out. Oh, but I'm on my laptop, and I'm going to close my laptop, smack, and go to lunch, and it kicks his out. Some server I am. Jacob's like, hey, I can't get the database anymore. Hey, I'm going to Taco Bell for lunch or whatever, right? Or your computer goes asleep, you're the only person who knows the password, and you go on vacation for 2 or 3. Well, in the United States, it'd be a week or 2 weeks. If you're in Europe, you'd be on vacation for like a month, right? So no one's going to get into it for a month. Let's talk about FileMaker server versus, and we're back to this on-prem conversation. Did we have this conversation a couple weeks ago or a week ago? Surface level conversation. Okay, we're going to go deep. If you go in here to the store, you say Claris FileMaker, try FileMaker. Where's that part at where we go and buy it? How about we get server? How about try pricing? How about we buy it? Here we go. So we have Claris Essentials versus Claris Standard. Okay. These are not products. These are kind of licensing tiers. Okay. Jacob, would you try to explain what we're looking at here? What are we looking at right here? I hit this button here. Mm-hmm. And so people expect that, hey, I know FileMaker can run on a server, and I'm an IT organization. I have my own server. So they see this right here, and they're going to buy it, right? Isn't that what's going to happen?
Yep. And they're not going to get FileMaker for their server if they proceed with that. They'll get FileMaker on Claris's server. And so this like product, if you will, it is FileMaker server. All of this stuff fundamentally under the hood eventually, if you dig deep enough, is still FileMaker server kind of. But Claris runs this one. They host it. We think it's an Amazon, but just generally speaking, you can post it up. It's up in the cloud. They are responsible for hosting it for you and all that kind of stuff. They manage your ability to log into the databases, and they handle a bunch of that stuff for you. And so it's nice. What you look at here, though, is you have two tiers, and the tiers are basically pricing. So the left side is your kind of cheaper option of the two, but it has a bunch of limitations, right? That's the big one, actually. The hosting of 3 apps, that's a huge limitation, especially if any of you have ever dealt with multi-file solutions or any of that stuff. Even still, no?
What's an app?
Simpler, a FileMaker database.
What's a FileMaker database?
A single FMP12 file.
There you go.
And so 3 apps is 3.
If you have a FileMaker solution, I'm gonna use the word solution. This is a terminology moment for you, Margaret. In the old days, we had FileMaker database, and then people said, that's not good. We need to make it simpler. So it became a FileMaker solution, which I still use quite a bit. It's a solution. Solution's a little vague, but it seems to be some sort of single sort of piece of software that does a bunch of stuff that your business needs. It's the solution that solves your business needs. Okay, perfect. Then Claris came out and said, hey, that's a FileMaker app or a custom app. You'll hear them call it a FileMaker app or custom app. And you're like, okay, cool. I got this app, a custom app. Here, the word app does not have the same term definition. They got to decide, they redefine what an app is. So instead of app being a solution, which it was previously, in this context, it's a single FMP12 file. So you have 3 FMP12 files. You have up to 125, which is kind of like the normal historic number they would have. So this is $43 for 1 year per person for the software license and the server and all the setup and everything. They manage it for you and take care of it for you. That's about half the price of Salesforce, to put it in perspective. A lot cheaper than Salesforce. However, if you want to roll your own server, because there are some certain limitations here with this. Server-side plugins, we like plugins, a lot of server-side data integration, things like that. This doesn't do it. That's kind of the problem. So you're like, well, I hit FileMaker, this option here, and I'm presented with 2 options here. Buy this one or buy this one. And really, most people, I would say 95% of the FileMaker customer base doesn't buy either one of these, yet these happen to be the 2 that are on their website because it's the 2 they want to sell to you. So you have to scroll down here and look for something on-premise server, which is basically Yeah, we talked about this before, but an on-premise server is a Mac or Windows server, and Claris calls it on-premise, which means that they think you'll run it in your own office. But because it's a Mac or a Windows server or a Linux server now, you can run it wherever you want to run it, and it doesn't have to be in your office.
I was even going to step back once on terminology of what a server is,
Okay.
because
Yeah. What
we
is a
were
server?
starting with the historic conversation of like why is it called upload to host? Because
Yeah.
that's fairly old tech terminology as well.
Yeah.
So for this, the very simple one here is a server is a computer dedicated for a purpose. I think that's probably the easiest way. You can get well into all kinds of cool stuff with it, but just simply, in this case, it would be like an individual computer somewhere. Where it is doesn't matter. Who's hosting it doesn't matter. Again, office, cloud, your bedroom. I don't know, whatever. Raspberry Pi. You may have heard of one of those. You can do stuff with that.
But the server generally would be a dedicated piece of hardware that people
Yep.
are not using to
For other
check their
purposes.
email and surf
Mhm.
and stuff like that, right?
Like its job. And so kind of tying into the conversation about like what is upload to host? What are we doing? You're taking your FileMaker file, we'll call it that, app database solution. Okay. You put it onto that other computer. That computer's specific job is making it available to everybody. The software that does that is FileMaker Server, Pro from development. Server is like its purpose. Yeah, we talk about backups all the time, and that's a very important and key function. Just to be clear, I'm the server guy. But like from a more user perspective, the main thing that it does for you is it does backups and it makes it available to everybody over the network. And that is how you can plug a bunch of pros or iOS devices, whatever it is, however you're getting into your solution. That's that this computer's job is to make that available.
So by it being down here, this implies that it's not important or not popular, which is both horrifically bad assumptions. Really, there should be three columns here. It should be the on-prem column, and then it should be these cloud columns here. The problem is that if you look at the on-prem pricing, over here, you're paying for only the software, not the hardware. So the pricing on this is like half of what it is over here or less. It's if you understand that this is it should say hardware plus software, hardware plus software. The problem is they're trying to make this like cookie cutter for non-technical people, except a lot of people who use FileMaker are semi-technical. Power users generally are power users for a reason. They do with the computer. FileMaker is not built by people who are not power. The minimum person, all of you here are at least power users, if not full-blown developers and professionals. Really, it should be three columns. And then this one option over here is for people who are power users and or professional developers. And then these over here are for people who can barely run their iPhone or their Android phone. And if that's you, then you should pick essentials or standard. Okay. I'm just saying, right? But most of you here are that way, right? You have some skills, so you understand the conversation. Jacob, right? Three columns, don't you think? Yeah. Because it implies that it's down
Yeah,
here like some sort of old thing that they hate that's like a dead horse. Like,
we put almost everybody on FileMaker Server, which is the on-premise server here.
yeah, we almost, yeah.
Because they can do it wherever
Yeah.
you want. Every business is like, a lot of them take my recommendation, and we put them in Amazon, and they're good. They come back every 6 months or a year, and they're like, "Hey, Jacob, can you do some updates or whatever?" Perfect. Some clients, nope, they want it physically present in the office. They want to be able to kick it, right? That's same software, nothing really different on that end. There's also the kind of third option that, again, these are all just, it's the same software, same license that you buy, all that stuff. There's also third-party hosting providers, and those are kind of halfway in between. It's not in your office where you're managing it. Maybe I helped with the install or something, but it's yours. The other side is kind of, it's up in the cloud, and maybe I help out with that. You could even do a little management, but it's kind of somewhere else. You're not dealing with it so much. Halfway in the middle, you have somebody else. Their job is to maintain the hardware and the software and all this kind of stuff.
So
Those are third-party hosting companies.
when you buy either three of these three columns here, you're going to run into a thing where the minimum entry point is 5 users. We talked about this the other day. 5 user is the minimum entry point. if it's just you and you want to test your own FileMaker server on your Mac and your Windows computer and maybe on an iPhone or iPad, so you have 3 computers at the same time, you want to look at the FDS, Foxtrot Delta Sierra. It's $99 a year. It's for one person to have your own server. The upside to this is that it allows you to take your solution, put it on a dedicated piece of hardware, either in your office or up in the cloud, doesn't matter. And so this right here is essentially the on-prem, okay? In fact, up here at the top, you got Cloud for Teams. See that right there, Cloud for Teams. And when they say for Teams, it starts sounding like a Microsoft thing, so I hate using that term because Microsoft has kind of co-opted the T word. But this is their, here it actually makes more sense. This is the tiers, the Cloud for Team. This is Cloud, okay? Then you have on-premise, which is the software only and you get your own hardware somehow. This is the one we're recommending, right? And then somewhere in there was the FDS, which disappeared. It's not on the top there. It's kind of a hidden nugget. And so this is on-prem. This is on-prem for one person. So they have a solution for one person. And if you need more than that, you have to go up to 5.
Can I host 3 separate apps or solutions for 105 per month for 5 users? Question mark.
Okay, try that again. We're doing that again. He says he wants to host on-prem. First, tell me.
He doesn't clarify. He says he wants to host 3 separate apps for $105 a month for 5 users. Those are the 3 elements.
For 5 users for and it's and you want 105?
Yeah.
Well, if you buy, and that's hardware, he didn't specify whether the hardware or software included. Well, for software, if you get just the software, the basic license, and this is the minimum entry point, it's 5 times 16, so that's less than $100.
You'll pay 100 for the hardware, 100 a month.
For the hardware? No.
Yeah, I'm rounding up. I'm rounding up on the number that we quote people, but it will be in that ballpark. Yeah.
So
Perfect.
we did this. Okay, stand by. So
You
to
have the math.
compare apples and apples to oranges and oranges, what we did is we prepped this little PDF. What this is this talks about the pricing for on-prem, but it makes it kind of equivalent if we do the Claris. So this is, take this and see, this is only the software cost, but to compare it to cloud, which has hardware and software, right? See here, it's 21, right? That's essentials. He says 3 apps, but is he talking about 3 FMP12 files or 3 solutions, right? 5 people, so their minimum price there is 5 people times 21 users, $21 per user per month. So that is $105 right there. There's your 105 right there. Okay.
Yep. You have limitations on that.
There's pretty serious limitations on, but that's that. Now, if you come over to our handy dandy spreadsheet and you look at 5 people and the server that we recommend, and we'll give you this document, work that you set up, we kind of price it out and you end up bubbling your way down to about $39 per user per month for 5 users, okay? That's because we set you up with a T3 large server. It's going to be better performance, frankly, but if you go to 10 users, then the price is a little higher because we configure it a little better for you at the 5 level. But if we up it to 10 users.
Yeah, and to be clear, Essentials is, I can't speak for Claris's actual financials, but it seems to be a loss because with the licensing that you're going to pay, like if you bought a license and then combined it with an amazingly and perfectly optimized hosting environment, I'll just put it that way, cut out my labor and everything else, automated setup, cut out all the other costs and that might go into it. It's still going to be more expensive than what they're quoting for the 5-seat server. Essentials specifically.
That might be a loss.
I think they're taking a loss on their on that specific tier.
Yeah, or maybe it's really close to break even because they probably have a bulk deal with Amazon or something. So when we're quoting ours over here, the equivalent in capability would be closer to the standard over here, if that makes sense. So yeah. So you're at 5 times 43. We're at 5 times 39. But the price gets a lot better at the 10 user pack on the on-prem. That's where the 5 pack is where it seems to be kind of cost competitive with their solution, assuming you don't run into limitations. So with a 10 pack though, the on-prem price starts to run away. It's a much better on-prem price. And it gets even better as you go larger. So anyway, so that's just an important understanding to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and not to have false associations in terms of hardware costs and things like that. So that's what I'm here to do, answer questions like that. Margaret, do we have questions?
We have another question from Media Sandbox. Well, okay, this is a left field Jacob question. So,
All right, Jacob, stand by in the batter's box.
I may want to use the new layout calculation feature to load field names sourced from field definition comments. That doesn't include any more server overhead than normal, right? Question mark.
The data that comes from, actually, this is probably more my question.
Yeah.
When the Pro client or the Go client, I'm not going to talk about WebDirect because who knows, but the Pro Go clients download all the relevant data to render the layout. If that data download, the XML block of invisible data that comes down, contains the layout comments, we're talking about the layout, where the layout comments at, right? On the side of the layout, when you say layout comments.
Is it?
At field definition comments.
Okay, field definition comments. So if I go to, this is an interesting question. So if I go to field, the file that Jacob kept crashing because he's such an, let me see. All right, so we're in here. I go to field definitions. He is talking about kind of an interesting little side thing. Some people use, some people don't. Here's your field definitions. You can come down here and say, this is Bugs Bunny the rabbit. Okay, Ribot. Okay, and you say change. So this little tag of information, so you can click up here and toggle it. It toggles from the options. You've never seen this, Margaret, probably, because we don't use it. Options, these are the technical options, and these are the comments. In an ideal world, I would put all three up here, but whatever. So he's asking that can he grab the comments, if those are included in the XML at the layout level that have sent to the Pro, and Pro largely ignores them, if, and you got a get function that can get them, yeah, you could display them with a layout calculation object. That's a big if. I haven't done it, but theoretically, all the pieces are there. Is there a get function that gets the layout, that gets this data?
Field definition comments, yeah. That's what I don't know.
You can get the field definitions, but can you get the comments out of the field definitions, right? So, but the layout calculation object is just a thing to display it on the layout. If you have the data, you have the data. If you don't have the data, it's not, the layout calculation object's not going to do anything new for you.
There apparently is a field comment function, so returns the specified field's comment.
Sure, then it would work just fine. So you could go over here. It was ID property, Bugs Bunny. I got a dot in here. I'm going to remove the dot just on the outside chance that would get wonky. I'll hit OK. So it's in secret locations, ID property P. Secret locations without hidden stuff. Okay, I'm going to go back to secret locations. Let me see. I'm going to go to mode where it's going to show me.
Yeah, you should have to change the mode because it's in table view right now.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. So here it is right here. So then if we wanted to do, what's it called, a get function? So if I just define it,
it's
just
not a get function. It's called field comment, I think. Literally the.
Okay,
so.
Let's see. Text. I'm just going to define a calculation field here first. Calculation field, create option. I'm going to make it unstored for now. Do not store. So what's it called? Field comment, field file name. Okay, so you can get file name right there. And the field name was the ID property P. Text. So yeah, I'm just trying to see if he can retrieve it at all, because I don't do this enough to even see that. It's a little bit aggravated in there. Yeah, it's not showing up right here right now, but once again, you can play with that. It's kind of a funny question and why you'd ask the question. It's way out in the weeds, but yeah.
Make a new record.
Oh,
wait, no, you said it unstored. Never mind. I was like, you missed the calc, but I'm wrong.
That or it's no, it should have validated both the file and the other. So I'm not sure why it's not giving me that data. Whatever, it doesn't particularly matter. David, format field name calc, so many customers. Yeah, but I put get functions in there for that, right? That should return. Well, it should be in quotes. Sorry. He's saying it should be in quotes. That good to get the file name and then ID property P. So I guess I could put that, put that in quotes, you think? How about that one? That one probably works better, right? Assuming it's a local reference, not in, it doesn't need an absolute. Fully qualified name is what they call that, right? Let me see. Okay, let's try that. Oh, there it is. All right, so then all you do is you take that same function, you stick it into a layout calculation object. Okay. So Margaret, a fully qualified name is where you put the table name and then 2 dots and then the field name, as in a not a fully qualified name. Sometimes, like right there, we put that into an area. We didn't give it the fully qualified name, but it was still able to make it assume that we were talking about the table that it was living in. Make sense?
Did I miss it? Is it 5 concurrent users or 5 individual logins?
We really, some people who missed the show and they come on, that's fine. It's a great question. So the 5 licenses here are 5 named users. When Claris says users, those are 5 named users. So they're not going to ask you for the list. So Fred, Smith, Sally, Jane, Dick, and Tom, whoever. If Claris asks you to provide those lists of 5 people, you can provide those names specifically. They have never done that, but you should be expected to be able to do that. Okay.
Yep.
A concurrency is where you buy 5 concurrent licenses, and we don't care who logs in. Is you have 5 slots, and they can be used by anyone. A concurrent license is 3 times the cost of a user license. So you have to have a number of people more than that 30%. Or 300%, right? That makes sense. So if you have 40 people, but they rarely use it, so you buy 5 licenses. That's a pretty big savings, because 5 concurrencies is the same as 15 user licenses, but you got 40. So you're way money ahead. But if you have 40 people, 20 of which actively access it, well, you buy 20 concurrents, but that's the same as 60 user licenses. So you just have to do the math and pick which way is more efficient for you. So the 5 minimum is either 5 user licenses or 5 concurrents. And you can mix and match. You have to have 5 of one or the other, and then you can add extras of the other. So you can say 5 user licenses, that gets you the minimum order size, and then give me 1 concurrency on top of that, or 2 concurrencies on top of that. You can do that. Let's pivot right now. So we've discussed that we're going to use on-prem. I have an on-prem Mac in my office here. I use it all the player. I'll use it even when I'm flying helicopters, I use FileMaker all the time. It's like the tool. Okay. So, so I have my own FileMaker server. It has backups on it. It's in my office. It has all sorts of extra security. It's on a Mac because I like Macs. However, most servers are going to be probably, if they're not in your office, they're going to be up in the cloud, or they might be at a different office, right? You have 5 locations, it'd be a different office. You have to decide whether you want it in one of those offices or you want to park it up on Amazon, which is kind of the default, in a lot of ways, the default data center. Because Amazon isn't really platform centric, if that makes sense. I mean, they like Unix and Linux or whatever, but that's kind of like being very generic. They don't have like a political bias one way or the other. Well, we only like Macs, or we only like Windows, right? Like if you go to Microsoft Azure, how much Mac support or how much Apple support will really be there? It depends on what kind of mood Microsoft's in. If you go to Amazon, they don't care. Amazon is in bed with everyone. They don't care. They support Macs. They support Windows. They don't care. Mr. Taylor, you want to talk us about this a little bit as we go through this? So we want to try to upload a solution. Where do we want to upload?
Yeah.
You want to share your screen?
No, I'm not sharing my screen.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, you are welcome to do it. Your server's ready. So
my server is ready. So I'm going to do this right now.
Your server is ready.
So we're going to determine. So this is what happens. I've been working on this solution, and this is very practical. And I've been working on it with FireMarshal with 2 L's on it. And Ed goes, damn, Richard, that's the sexiest FileMaker solution I've ever seen on screen. Can I use this with everyone? And I go, dude, no problem. We have to share it. I'm not going to do peer-to-peer sharing. Once again, we want to have backups. We want to have reliability. I want encryption of the data. I want all that. So I'm going to say upload to my FileMaker server, if I can remember how to do this. Upload to host. Okay. It says, hey, you want to upload this file, but if I'm going to upload it to the host, once again, that's upload to a FileMaker server, is really what that kind of terminology says. We're going to close it first. Now, I've already got a password on it. Admin1234 is the password, super secret. And so now I have to go to my FileMaker server. And this is the trick part. I have to remember if it has it right here. So then I'm going to put this in here carefully. And I'm going to tell it in the future just to save it on this computer. So it's uploading it to FileMaker server. I'm going to upload it to there. So it closed it. It's going to secretly zip it, beam it to the server, then auto open it. So 1, 2, 3, sign in. It says, hey, there we go. File is ready to be uploaded. And it'll automatically open once it's there. Upload. You hear the Jeopardy music playing. Doo, doo, doo. Okay, now it says it's done. And then you say, okay. Now it's on the server. Now, very important.
I was gonna say, check what's different about this dialog.
Yeah. So what's different about this dialog? See that?
Very tiny. Yeah, your little green lock, and then the host over in the corner that is right next to that green lock. And the previous one, when he was opening it and the fire marshal, you can see that file in the background there. It didn't have that. It just said sign in to open fire marshal, but no host information.
So now it's on the server. And here's the really cool thing about the FileMaker platform. Everything you need to do to build a FileMaker solution, you can do while it's hosted on the server. So you can be doing development on it. Other people can be using it. I know some consultancies, developers hate that. At a professional level, I wouldn't do it with a bunch of customers, but if you have 4 or 5 people using a solution and you're adding or changing something in it, or even 50 people using it, you have to be careful not to be too disruptive to them. But I'm going to log in 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I am logged on to the hosted version of the file. Notice up here at the top, it says there's a file name, and that's kind of the path, and it happens to be on a Comcast network, business network here, where I'm at. So you're like, so then you close the file. It's a long weekend. You drink, you drink some more. Some of you, I'm looking at you on the internet. You come back, you're like, oh, God, it's Monday. Barely hungover. I can get it. Oh, here's Fire Marshal. I'm going to open it up. And you get this dialog. This file has been previously uploaded. And it should say, don't you remember doing that, dumb? Okay. It's being nice, but that's what it should say. Do you really want to use this local one, or do you want to use a hosted one? This is a really great dialogue, because it's warning you that you're going to have, in an organization, always talk about a single source of truth. You want to have a single place where the data is accurate and you trust it. But if you have a local file that you're working in and a master file on the server you're working in, and you're putting data in both, you're likely to have 2 sources of truth, neither one of which actually agrees with the other, right? So the default is don't use the local file, use the hosted file. Okay, and then it does a little redirect to the server and allows you to auto open it. Okay, questions about that? So this one right here, so people come to me and says, Richard, the dog ate we've talked about this before, the dog ate my homework. And the teacher's like, yes, the dog ate your homework. I say, swear it ate my homework. Customer comes to me and says, FileMaker server ate my data. I'm like, yeah, right. Show me. And what happens almost invariably, Margaret, is they have a local copy of the file. They didn't know what they were even using it. They saw this. They were low on caffeine, they just hit whatever, and they go in the local file. Then they start putting in some really essential, important data, like a new record here. Here's a photo of this. It's an amazing photo of Richard, record 9. They close it. Then I open it again. It says, oh, yeah, I should only use the hosted one, right? And then you go in here and you log on, and that data is not there, okay? I'm just telling you, I got 8 records. I swear, Richard, I had a photo in there. I had a contract in there. I have to trust FileMaker. If it's going to eat my data, I can't trust it. I can't trust you as a consultant. I'm going to have to throw it out and buy Ruben's Frog software. And you're like, damn. And you're wondering what happened. Because they threaten you, right? Customer will threaten you. They'll be nice about it, but someone will get really pissed off because they swear that they did nothing wrong. So what you have to do is make sure that you take this file over here and you maybe delete it, archive it, change the name, maybe zip it. That might be a thing. You zip it, compress it, keep the compressed one, delete this one, and that way, when this one, you know that it's zipped, so really you don't want to use it. See, very important business. Data is happening. See, business is happening. I'm talking business is happening. So this is the essential beginnings of sharing your solution with your users. Tomorrow, we're going to get into a conversation. We're going to talk about a little bit of a launcher file on that and what you would do with that. We'll also talk about, well, we're going to get into backups on Friday, but the FileMaker server, FileMaker Cloud, and this was brought up by Dymocker. There was a conversation. FileMaker Cloud, when you buy the more expensive one from Claris and they do the hardware and software for you, it automatically backs up every 20 minutes. When you do your on-premise server, it will automatically back up once a day, but you're expected, to be honest with you, to change the backup schedule and to manage that. which I do. I run it every hour, every 15, 20 minutes, whatever I can do. FileMaker, the cloud one that Claris sells, the more expensive one, is set for every 20 minutes, always, without any fail, and you cannot change it. Right? So as long as that every 20 minutes is copacetic and kosher, then it's, although it's pretty quick, isn't it, Jacob? Pretty quick?
Yeah, it's a snapshot, so it's instant from your like user perspective.
Yep. All right, cool. Is there a monthly payment with RCC? When we actually set up FileMaker servers, Jacob, we will help set the server up for you, but it's your server. You pay Amazon. You don't have to worry about us marking it up. You're going to pay the base bottom price that you can pay from Amazon. Okay, you buy the FileMaker software, you own the software. We can upsell that to you, to FileMaker, and then Jacob charges, an hour, 2 hours, whatever, to set up the server. Then we're done. All right, so tomorrow we're going to pick that conversation up, but good conversation. A lot of this is beginner level stuff. Friday gets a little hairy because that's why Jacob's in here. So we'll start off with backups for beginners, and then it gets progressively more nasty.
It's going to be rapidly not beginner for backups.
Yeah,
we're gonna start with like the basics and then dive honestly as far as people want to go or we have time for.
All right, guys, we're good. That's it for today. Catch you tomorrow. Glad you're using the FileMaker platform. I'm going to go FileMaker myself right now. I feel FileMaker coming on. I'm going to go FileMaker. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir!